Welcome back to the channel. It's another beautiful Eastern North Carolina afternoon, and today we're talking about this mess I've made here, or as one viewer put it, the crater. I had a big ugly tree here. You may have noticed that from like the first or third or fourth episode. If I remember, I'll put a link up over here. So the tree got cut down, but I left the stump. And the reason I left the stump was because I believe I had utility lines crossing directly underneath the stump. No reason to lose electricity and or cable. That being said, I was then left with this stump with this big mess of mulch around it. Now I did use some of that mulch elsewhere around the garden, and that may have been a mistake because the mulch contains some weed seeds, which then I see weeds popping up in places where they shouldn't be popping up because I think that there are weed seeds in the old mulch, but nonetheless, live and learn, as they say. So what I've done with this space since then is I started digging out around the roots. My thought was, well, there's a couple of reasons why. One, I've mentioned it a billion times before. If you haven't watched the channel, I have heavy clay soil. And when it downpours, when it rains, the whole front lawn area, that's basically where you're standing, turns into a lake. So to try to remedy that, the water should have some place to run off too. There is drainage ditch way down there, but the land isn't sloped like that. It's very flat. Or the land sloped, then the rain would go to the drainage ditch and we wouldn't be having this conversation, but we are. So what I've done is I've dug out around the stump and I've created these depressions. And eventually what I'm gonna have is the rain gutter off to the one corner of the house. I'll have a little ditch going from that towards this. And I'll try to level up some of the other portions of the front lawn that are lower than others. Theoretically, that'll push the water this way. Water can go and sit in here and life will be wonderful. This is all the theory. I have no idea what I'm doing. None whatsoever. If you're a better gardener than I am, please feel free to leave a comment below, making suggestions, etc., etc. In the meantime, I'm going with what I think I have and what I think I know. So again, this will be sort of a damp garden slash rain garden. And I'm going to be planting various plants all over, and I will discuss each one as I do it real quick. But this is basically what I'm doing with this crater, as it were. You can see behind me I have this lovely bird bath with a solar fountain on top of it. I don't know if you can see the water percolating. Looks like some of it's come out, evaporated with the sun. Real quick, I'll give you a brief overview then of some of the plantings. And I do plan on planting basically this whole thing up one way or another. Up front here I have some salvias. Again, don't know how they're going to do if this whole area gets really sopping wet, but live and learn, give it a try. In the meantime, it'll look pretty. So I'll have a clump of salvias there. Off to one side, I don't know if you can see this, I have a canna. That should do well in fairly damp soil, so that should be pretty happy. Back here I have a grass. I can't remember the name of it. Again, when I get to that, I'll post up the name. It'll be approximately 10 foot tall. Way back here, up on the mound, by the way, everything from here down essentially, okay, so let's say almost 2.5, 3 feet above the ground was mulch and debris. So that was a mess. So it was all mulch and rotting everything. And I took all that up. Some of that mulch went, again, I used some of that mulch, but some of the mulch went into this mound. And then when I dug out these depressions, that also went into this mound. So this mound, this pile of dirt, instead of just saying, oh, it's waste or it's debris, or I'm gonna use it as sort of a structural feature. And again, this over here is Oxeye Sunflower. Next to that, I have a mounding lantana. Then over here I have red hot poker. We have some nicotina, and then in the end, which is getting blown over, more salvia. This is what I have today, and this is what I'm going to do. This is just the start. As my wife said, oh my, you're going to need a lot more plants. And she's right. I'm going to need a lot more plants. But that's the whole idea here, is to start filling this up with plants. It'll also give us something lovely to look at when you walk out from the front door, neighbors to see, and it makes something that looks pretty hideous look pretty nice. Also, as a side note, I know you're tired of me rambling, you just want to get to see me planting and go over the specific plants. I left as much of the roots exposed as possible, and over time more will become exposed as the soil settles, the rain washes soil off the roots, because it's almost like a skeleton. It becomes a feature in itself, which is kind of neat. I think that's about all the blabbering and blathering I have right now, so let's get to planting. So I think the first thing we're going to do is this grass. Again, this grass will get to 10 feet high. This is white Pampas grass. Let's see, it'll have arching green leaves and buff colored flower plumes in the fall full sun. Fabulous. This will act as again, as a structural piece. It'll add height to the garden. There we go. That's not too shabby. I think next I'll take care of the oxeye. Now, as I mentioned before, the interior of the mound is comprised mostly of the old mulch with all the other than dirt piled on top. And there's good and bad dirt on top. There's nothing bad. It's just heavy clay soil. So you get large, heavy clumps like this. There's a lot of organic material in here in the ways of old vines, twigs, things like that. And I'm going to leave them there, and I want them there because they will break down in time, and they will only add to this mound. Over time, the critters and my planting will improve all of this soil, and this will become a nice fertile spot. But until then, we have to supplement and add to it and make it all nicey nice for the plants. So again, this is Oxeye Sunflower. Heliopsis, I can't pronounce a lot of these Latin words, but it's Oxeye Sunflower. This will grow to about 36 inches tall, approximately 24 to 36 inches tall. So I'm gonna have to maybe stake this at some point, because if you've been watching the channel, you know it gets windy here. It does get windy here, and I don't want these flopping over, so I'll probably at some point come back. What's the word I'm looking for? Stake. Do a stake. You know, as I'm pressing this in, I'm also noticing that, you know, there's some wiggle, and that's because you have all this good soil, and the old soil is kind of clumpy. But again, once those roots start wandering out into the mound itself, it'll get a lot better over time. Okay, next, where was that tag actually? I keep a journal of all the plants that I've planted, or try to keep a journal of all the plants that I've planted in the garden. Helps to identify the plants, and also I can keep notes as to what succeeded, what didn't succeed. I'll go over that another day. Anywho, next plant. This is the lantana Bandana White. This one gets 24 to 24 inches wide. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this right about here. It'll grow on top, it'll mound, it'll look beautiful. This is all an experiment. You could even think of this as like a living art piece. There we go. One of the things I like about gardening is if you don't like what you've done, or if a plant isn't growing well someplace, you can always move it. You can dig it up, you can change it. There are a few exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, that's the rule. If I don't like this, I can change it up, I can move things around. It's not the end of the world. So that's again one of the many reasons why I like gardening. The next plant here is going to be Red Hot Poker Mango Popsicle. It's a Comfrena. It has a lovely stalk with a lovely set of flowers on it. And I'm gonna stick it right here. Why not? Again, if I don't like something, I can always move it. Oh my, this one's really root bound. So I'm just gonna tease out some of these roots, break some of them up. We'll see again how all this works out. Will my plantings be a failure? Will this experiment be a failure? Will this grow into a lovely, lush mound of plants that I've envisioned in my head? I don't know. We'll try. Okay, so back here on this ridge, I'm going to plant up two different types of jasmine. Not jasmine, I apologize. Nicotina, part of the tobacco plant family, as it were. First one is called jasmine scented. So it's supposed to have a jasmine scent. Now I grew this from seed. There we go. Little root bound, not too bad. You can tease that apart. And this one looks like it's about to go to flower. So we're just gonna tuck that in there. I'll come back and I'll re-tag everything as time goes on. And I have 3 others. These are only the lonely Nicotina. It does basically the same thing. It's a Nicotina plant. Also, when these things flower, they self-seed very readily. When I grew them in New York, I planted 2 or 3, and the following year I had dozens. And they will fill the space, and over time they will self-seed. So next up we have this salvia. Now there's 2 different types here. Well, the first one I'm going to plant up is called Sage Rose Marvel. Gets to about 12 inches tall, and looks like it has a bit more of a brighter purple flower on it than the others that I'm going to plant up in a second. We'll see how all this pans out in the end. So the next one, as I crush the plant, the next 3 are going to be May Night. Okay, and these get about 18 inches tall. So I'm going to plant up 3 of these. Oof. Next is a Canna. I've never grown a Canna before. This one is Canna Soul Happy Emily. Just 20 to 18 inches tall, wide. So let's get to planting. Now here I already dug out sort of a depression in between some roots. So I'm just going to fill that up with some good soil. And we'll just drop it right in there. Not too root bound, but wait, you got these big old, what are these, tubers? I really don't know anything about Canna. Looks like you got some tubers in here, and this thing is sopping wet, which is good. I'm gonna have to do my homework on this to make sure that it's gonna be happy long term. Snug as a bug in a rug, and hopefully she'll be good. Okay, front salvias, and then I think we're done. Now these are salvia that I grew from seed. First one is, well, actually they're all Cirrus Blue salvia. I believe they're perennial, at least I hope they are. Just tuck them there. That wasn't the plan, but I'm going to go with it. Well, there you go. I started planting up a crater. There's a long way to go. And this space will evolve over time, as I stated before. I have to, or I want to, try to keep some of the lawn grass from growing into the space, so there'll be a constant weed and hoeing to do that. But, or maybe I will let it grow in naturally. Maybe I'll fill in some of the spaces with rock stone, like a river stone. That might look nice. So we've got the Canna salvias. I've got a Comfrina, I believe that's the word. The Oxeye Sunflower, tall grass there. Lantanas and Nicotinas. There it is. This is the beginning of something new. Something I've never done before. Something I'm going to try. I think in the long term, it'll be incredible. I think in the long term, it'll be really nice. Let's see if it gets there. Let's see if my predictions are right. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. This way you don't miss a minute of this riveting and possibly catastrophic experiment and channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Leave a comment below. Let me know how you feel about this space. If you would do something different. If you have any suggestions, please leave them below. If you're a better gardener than I, which I'm sure many of you are, please again leave those comments below. Love to hear from you. Love to hear your ideas and thoughts. If you haven't subscribed to my Instagram, please subscribe. I often post the pictures that I don't share with you here on YouTube. If you'd like to help support the channel, maybe buy the next plant that I put in here, check out the merch link below. There you can get a t-shirt, mug, hoodie, many other items that, you know, with the hand logo. And you could help support the channel, and again, maybe possibly buy a plant that will go in here to help continue to fill out the space. I think that's about it for today. I'm going to clean up. I've watered the garden, and I'm going to catch you on the next one. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.